For those that don't know, I'm Justin Chan. I'm the president of the Western Chester County Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for coming out this morning bright and early. Although we're all, a lot of us are in the contractors and trades, so I imagine early morning is pretty normal for you guys, not so much for me. So the Time for the Trades has served as the Chamber's initiative to connect skilled trade businesses to resources in our region. For this event, we try to address workforce needs by fostering partnerships between trade, businesses, and career and technical education and other trade organizations. And that need is very apparent right now with all the labor shortages we have, and hopefully this event's gonna help to further that. We try to provide information on training, funding, apprenticeship programs, education, certification opportunities that will allow the skilled trade employers to grow their workforces. I'd like to thank our sponsors for today's event, which would be our diamond sponsor, JGM, our sapphire sponsor, Pico, and our emerald sponsor, Mahoney Environmental. So a round of applause for our three event sponsors today. Chamber has year-long partners, and without them, we wouldn't be able to put these events on. Our first is our titanium partner, First Resource Bank, and I'd like to invite Jack Ellis with First Resource to come up and just say a couple words.
Those stairs move, so. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you everyone for coming out. First Resource Bank is thrilled to be the titanium partner of the Chamber. And this event is so important to people in my life, friends, family who are in the trades, people I know who run companies like that, who do struggle to find employees. I was of the generation that, it was assumed that you were gonna go to college. And college is not for everyone. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, so. We're just thrilled to be here to sponsor the Chamber and see everybody out in person. So thanks for coming.
Thank you. The remainder of our year-long partners include our platinum partners, which are GA Vitri Incorporated, Citadel Federal Credit Union, the Small Business Accounting Solution, D. Howell & Sons, and Delaware Valley Concrete. And then our gold partners, Cleveland Cliffs, the Wright Agency, Jonathan floating around somewhere, the Alliance for Health Equity, Rhodes Energy, Pennsylvania American Water, Penrise Advisors, Mid-Penn Bank, floating around somewhere too, and ServPro of Kennett Square in Oxford. Round of applause for all of our year-long partners. Also want to acknowledge our representative, Dan Williams, is also present today. Thanks, Dan, for coming out. So without further ado, we want to get started. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. They have to get to work, right? So we're going to start. Our first speaker is George Fiore, who's with the Executive Director for the Chester County Intermediate Unit.
I'm so excited this wasn't a static mic where I'd have to pull it down for how tall he is, so thank you for that. Good morning and thank you for the invitation. What a beautiful facility you have here, and I've heard so much about it since I've been at the Chester County Intermediate Unit because it's a great location for kids after school and throughout the summer, so this is wonderful. As he said, I'm George Fiore. I'm the Executive Director for the Chester County Intermediate Unit. But I'm also the father of 3 children, and my family has HVAC and plumbing. That's what we've all done. So I broke away from the mold. Like many of us were taught when we were going through school, the way to get out of the economic struggles, which now are not true. The ROI on college has really fallen apart, and the economic benefit has now shifted. So the time is right for us. So, at the Chester County Intermediate Unit, we have 3 career and technical college high schools located in Downingtown, West Grove, and Phoenixville. So today I'm honored to be here to talk about the importance and necessity of skilled trade businesses such as yours to foster partnerships with local career and technical schools. As a former teacher, and I have 3 children, as I said earlier, 15, 12, and 8, who all think they're 25, I relate to the workforce challenge and the solution to learning basic math. In elementary school, students are taught 2 + 2 = 4. But as we progress through our educational career, the problems get a little more difficult. But the solution to all of our needs comes from yet another simple math equation. Career development plus workforce development equals economic development. I currently sit as the chair for the Economic Development Council in Chester County for workforce development. We are holding a summit in June to attack the workforce shortages, the critical workforce shortages. And the only way we're going to get out of it is by working together and changing our strategy. Because the landscape has changed post-pandemic, and I'm going to keep saying post for good reason. So you may be asking, why should businesses support local education efforts? And I know there's many supporters in here. This may be the choir. We also have some partners. We have our Occupational School District here who's wonderful in partnering in this effort. What is the connection, and more importantly, what's in it for you? Educators and business leaders must come together to better prepare students for labor market demands and career success. We must focus on transforming the student experience to provide rigorous academics, technical skills, and real-world experiences. And I'm going to emphasize real-world experiences, because that's what kids are really after. You know, we want kids to be able to put their hands on the work. We know that's what changes their mind and also their parents' minds. Because when they come home from school and say, guess what I did today? And anybody who has children, you know how hard it is to get that out of them. But when they hit that excitement, that real world experience, it's a game changer. Together we can shape students what they should know and be able to do after high school. We can forge a clearer and more seamless integration of career and college preparation. Now, we're not saying that college is off the table. They can do both. Many of our students that are technical college high school program, they go on to post-secondary education. But a good portion will go into the workforce right away. And we can do this by empowering families, teachers, businesses, and our community to effectively align practice, structures, and systems to achieve our goal. So as a business owner, by partnering with local schools, and this is not just your technical college high school programs too. These are any of the schools that you have. Because we're going to have to impact it, I'd say beginning in middle school. If you can get into elementary school, I highly recommend that as well. I knew I wanted to be a teacher in 4th grade. So that means someone needs to change my mind before that. So how do we get those experiences earlier? So with that, simply stated, business partners are needed in order to take student-focused career readiness initiatives to the next level. And specifically in Chester County, we have a vibrant and supportive business community. The collaboration across various stakeholder groups is what truly separates our area from many others. And the mutual benefits provided in our partnerships have the potential to be a model that could be replicated across the state and the nation. We have the resources here, and we have opportunity. So your next logical question may be, George, I'm busy. How do I get involved, and will I have time for this? Now, I will say we have to make time for it, because with the workforce shortages, we don't have any other option. But let's be strategic. So the opportunities to make an impact on student knowledge acquisition can take many approaches. This can look like offering tours of your businesses, guest lectures, classroom presentations, and more. I have some colleagues here with me today that would be happy to speak to you about various opportunities we could offer your business through our technical college high school program. From setting up a work-based experience based on what you're able to offer, or to seeking out opportunities to serve the community. We also have advisory panels and boards, and I believe we have some members of our OAC committee, so thank you for our HVAC. We have opportunities where we're required to have businesses support and evaluate our programs. So we need you to make sure our kids have the best opportunities for their future. And here's a fun fact for you to consider before we part ways today. Last year, across our 3 technical college high school campuses, we had 55 seniors who participated in a co-op opportunity. From those 55 students, upon graduation, 67% went directly into industry. 33% went into post-secondary education. This number has grown each year, and with these opportunities and more, local businesses and leaders can be part of the pipeline of employment for local Chester County graduates as they take their skills, motivation, industry credentials, and task accomplishments into a field that they have worked towards for 3 years. So I ask you, please be part of that solution and help our community achieve its mission. And I think we all have a moral imperative to do this right now. There are many challenges in our county. There's many challenges nationwide. You look at Pennsylvania, our population is 60% retirees. So that means we're looking at 40% of Pennsylvanians that are eligible to work. Then when you look at that number, throughout COVID, 70% of working mothers did not go back to the field. So now the numbers are starting to shrink at a high rate. So how do we start earlier and play the long game of getting students at a much earlier age to enter our fields? How do we work together to target those for adult education programs? In our technical college high school program, we not only target students in grades 9 through 12, but we also target adult learners. And we have a growing program. But the only way we're going to be able to do this is doing it together. And I encourage you, talk to your school districts, talk to school counselors, so that you can get into buildings. Take the college approach. They've been doing it for a really long time. I mean, my son came home with 3 pamphlets, and he said, "Dad, look, all these colleges want me." And I said, "They want my money." I said, "I promise, someone's gonna take your money." I quickly switched it after I said my money. He lit up like, oh. But I think we have to change our approach. The more time we can get in front of kids, show them the work that we all have done. The reason why I'm here is because of that work that my family has done. I can fix my plumbing and HVAC because I had no choice as a kid. Many of you understand that. I want our own kids to have that same experience and then make fruitful careers. So if you're interested in hearing more, we have many team members here. We have our director of our career and technical education program, Dr. Kirk Williard, who's in the back. He's one of our experts in this field. He actually is an expert in the state. We have Jill Stotzfuss, who's here. She runs numerous programs for us here and secures grants like you couldn't believe, because that's what we have seed money. So thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and I look forward to partnering with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And we thank the Chester County Intermediate Unit for the continued partnership with the Chamber. They've been a great partner with us and hosted our annual home show event for many years, and hopefully we'll have that back next year. Next, I'd like to invite up Stephanie with the Associated Builders and Contractors.
Thank you. And thank you about the warning and the stairs moving, because I'm typically the girl who figures that out when she face plants. So thank you for having me here today. My name is Stephanie Larkin. I'm Vice President of Education, Safety, and Workforce Development at ABC Keystone. And because I recognize not everybody knows who we are, we'll start with a little bit of foundation there. Cool. Make sure I'm pointing this the right way. ABC, Associated Builders and Contractors, it's actually a national organization. There are 69 chapters across the country. Each of us operate differently, and so you guys actually sit between the Keystone footprint and the ABC Eastern footprint. And we have this gentleman's agreement that the western side of Chester is mine, and the rest of Chester happens to belong to Eastern, but we do recognize that as contractors, you work across those footprints. We are commercial and industrial construction, we're not residential. I always feel compelled to make that distinction, especially when we're talking to kids, because the education paths can be quite different. And at Keystone, we represent currently about 540 different businesses. Half of those would be contractors, whether they're generals or specialty. The rest are folks who either supply us or support our industry in a professional way, architecture, engineering, that sort of stuff. But 25,000 craft professionals, that's what we represent. And one other distinction with ABC, we are what's known as the voice of merit shop contracting. It's a philosophy that the best contractor for the job should get the job, whether or not they have a union affiliation. So we're not anti-union, we have members with union affiliates, but we do all believe in free enterprise and fair markets. So you guys know this and know it well and painfully well. We don't have enough workers in our industry. We are severely short. We're looking at growth in our industry that surpasses many other industries. Nationwide, we're looking at 650,000 people short. Couple reasons for that. One would be back when we had sort of our recession, 2007, 8, 9. A lot of folks who would have typically retired couldn't, and so they stayed put, and that did not make the typical amount of space for others coming up the line behind them, sort of that silver tsunami effect. Everybody's now ready to go, and they're going to go en masse and leave us with a huge deficit. Secondly, you guys are all familiar with the fact that, and Mr. Vitri and I were talking about this, when I was in school, VOTEC, career and technical education, was for the kids who couldn't hack it in college. It got a bad rap. And schools who did have trade programs ended up taking a lot of that money and then putting it into STEM labs, computer labs instead. And so a lot of our students lost access to even the fundamental knowledge and experience of doing the hands-on work. So what do we do about that? Yeah, so there's my retirement statistics, and we're coming right up on that. Almost half our gang gone. So there's a couple ways at Keystone that we're attacking that, and I'm going to start with the high school, largely a high school program first. When I came on board approximately 4 years ago and started talking to the schools, like Dr. Fiore mentioned, if you don't talk to the schools, you don't know what's happening. In Lancaster, which is where I'm situated, although I have 10 counties, the CTC was full. Schools who wanted to send students to CTC could not get them in, or they couldn't get them into the program they wanted. Or maybe they were a smaller sending school and didn't have access to the same number of seats. But regardless, they needed opportunities for their kids who knew they didn't want to go to college and knew they wanted to go to the workforce. So what we did was take part of our registered apprenticeship program, which I'll tell you about momentarily, pull it out and make it a standalone program for pre-apprenticeship, okay? A pre-apprenticeship, by definition, is something that is giving foundational knowledge to students in whatever industry that provides them a direct path into that industry with a registered program, so that would be an approved program, and it's going to have an approved curriculum and it's going to have hands-on components. Those are the fundamentals. Outside of that, you can be reasonably flexible about how you do it. And we have a lot of different ways we do that. What we put together is something we call PA Connection. And our basic program is one where we take the students from schools who don't have the resources to create their own program, and we put together this sort of cohort of onesies and twosies from all the different schools, and we create a class. 3 times a year we do this. This version of our pre-apprenticeship is 1 day a week, 5 hours a day, 60 hours of knowledge overall, and this is foundational to any of the trades that I offer. You've got hand tools and power tools and basic construction math, which, by the way, I always tell schools, this is math-heavy stuff, guys. This is highly skilled stuff. Don't underestimate the knowledge you need to do skilled trades. Introducing them to blueprints, walking folks through basic safety and putting them through OSHA 10. Rigging, materials handling, how are we moving materials? How are we ensuring that things are not equally distributed and their weight are safely lifted and transported? And then we're doing some employability and communication skills. And when students complete that, and by completed, it means attending all the classes and passing all the exams and doing the hands-on, they're provided credit towards our registered apprenticeship program. This can take a variety of forms. Where schools have resources, where they've got space or instructors who have the time to do this, we will put it in their school, and we've done that. We have multiple schools that run our program that we sponsor, but they do it on their terms. So that's an opportunity, by the way. And if anybody ever wants that list, let me know. It's an ever-changing list, thankfully, because schools are competitive. And if that guy's got it, I want it, which I love. Oops, wrong way. So this is what our schedule looks like for the summer. And in the summer, just so you're aware of it, we really truncate that. And we'll take a 1-month period and just blast these kids through this. And you'd think over the summer we don't get anybody, but we typically have 7 or 8 students who will come to us 3 days a week, full-time class, to do this. Because it sets them up very nicely to roll right into registered apprenticeship when it starts in the fall. Oh, we also put them on a rough terrain forklift, by the way. If they're not 18, they get the experience. If they are 18, we will credential them for that. Recognizing that as contractors, you're probably going to put them on your own equipment and re-credential them, but it does increase their employability. So obviously in a pre-apprenticeship, you're kicking students out at the end with credentials. In our case, a completion certificate because our registered apprenticeship is approved by the Commonwealth, their OSHA 10 card, and potentially that forklift cert. But it makes it much more simple and easy for a Mr. Vitri to say, this kid's got 60 hours of basic education behind him. I can bring him on as a very basic laborer and now utilize him or her, bring them up in the culture of my company. So it increases employability. It saves the contractors some money in tuition because of the credit they'll save if they put them in a registered apprenticeship. And then to, Dr. Fiore's point, he can still fix his AC and his heat and fix a toilet when things go south. And of course you get credit. So trade school is a great choice. You know this, but for our educators in the room, it's still sometimes hard, especially with parents, I would say, to convince folks that this is the opportunity they should consider. Because 27% of trade school grads are gonna earn more money. 21% are more likely to work in the field of study they went to school for. There's a 4% higher employment rate, and on average, $65,000 salary for skilled trades. When you get into commercial and industrial construction, you've got prevailing wage, you've got overtime, you've got all of those things. And even as an apprentice, apprentices get paid prevailing wage rate on public work. I know third-year apprentices doing work on railroads in Baltimore getting $50 an hour. And that's not their journeyman rate yet. So, very viable careers. So the next step, quick, I don't want to take over my time here. I see Mr. Lauckner here. Quick recap of what a registered apprenticeship is. Pre-apprenticeship is foundational knowledge for somebody not currently working in the field. To be a registered apprentice, you must be working full-time in the trade you're learning about. And at the same time, you're going to school on a part-time basis. So for us, what that looks like is about 2 days a month on average, full days, 7 a.m. to 3. You're with me learning why you're doing what you're doing every day in the field, and the balance of the time you're out there doing it. The end goal, when you've combined all your required hours of on-the-job training and the required hours you're spending in class on the theory, is your Journey Workers certification. That's a Commonwealth credential. The state issues it. I give you a certificate for completing your schooling, but they give you the Journey Person's credential. That goes with you everywhere. That's yours. That's not your company's, right? It is your credential. Likewise, in registered apprenticeship, if you hadn't had it, you're going to take forklift, you're going to do scissor lift, you're going to do boom, you'll have first aid, CPR, AED, and an OSHA 10 card. Okay. You are not a job shadow. You are not an intern as a registered apprentice. You are a full-time employee of the company that hired you. And as such, you're earning wages and you're earning benefits. You're not earning at the same level, however, as the person who's been in the field for 20, 25 years. You have an apprentice wage, but your wage scale is a contracted matter. You will receive incremental increases for every 1,000 hours on the job, so 6 months average. Depending on the duration of your programming, we'll use electrical as an example. That's a 4-year program, so that's 8,000 hours of on-the-job training, 4 years full-time. And then the theory, you'd start at no less than 60% of that Journey Worker's wage, and then you progress as you input your on-the-job training hours. Biggest thing for folks who aren't currently in apprenticeship, and for the companies who may not have considered it yet, you are sponsoring that person's education. It makes it very attractive for them to come to you. Likewise, it builds their loyalty to you. It allows you to teach them in your culture and the way you do business, but through an apprenticeship, they learn everything. May not be what you specialize in every day. If you're an electrical company, you may be a solar company, but they're going to learn everything and be a well-rounded worker. I have 10 programs currently. Apparently we have member interest in roofing. Roofing might come back on board soon. So what we teach is all based upon member need. And then you'll see the number of years behind it. Again, that's the combination of OJT, time, and schooling. Craft labor is one I try to explain because it's not obvious, but that's a field that does a lot of form work, carpentry, concrete. I think I saw J.D. Ekman in the room. They've got a lot of craft laborers. Oftentimes, those folks are doing largely road and bridge work, but sometimes other things. Okay, so some of this was covered by Dr. Fiore. I was kind of doing a brain dump last evening. You all have a group here called Career Ready Chesco. If you're not familiar with it, I highly advise you as businesses to become familiar with it. We have one in Lancaster, there's one in Berks. This is a consortium of schools and businesses. And the whole point of the thing is to connect you. Because you businesses don't speak the same language as schools. When a school says job shadow, we might think we know what that means, but they may have a very different definition of that. Get involved in Career Ready Chesco, okay? And that, even if you just Google search that, it comes right up on the web. We talked about occupational advisory committees, Perkins or career and tech advisory committees. Even high schools have these. It's not just career and tech centers that have these. Get in the trades classes. I have some employers who are members who hire right out of the high school because they've created a relationship with the student. They go in, they talk to all the kids, they can see the work ethic. Recruited right out of high school. Again, make sure you understand school parameters with things like job shadows and internships. If you're not involved in ACE Mentor, is anybody here familiar or involved in ACE Mentor? Oh, cool, that's a good opportunity. Architecture, construction, engineering. There's a mentor program. It's okay, I thought it was a fire alarm at first, that's why I stopped. If you're not involved in that, The Greater Philadelphia chapter covers you here in Chester County. Very cool. Those guys, we have one up in Central PA. It is a conversation soup to nuts and hands-on activities for students in high school and direct links to mentors on all the angles, right? The architecture, engineering, construction. This year our kids built shipping container communities. They would get together in teams and they'd decide, I want to have a business and this is what my shipping container looks like and this is where I'd put it on this piece of land. Very, very neat opportunity. Definitely get in touch with them. One thing that wasn't mentioned, equipment, materials, tools donation. You want to get in a school, you offer them that. You're theirs for life, or they're yours for life. Hard hats, safety vests, safety glasses. Definitely consider that. And then the biggest deal in trades education, if you are not a company that offers to lend yourself to this, is co-op. Co-op catches the kids who are not yet old enough to work in the field for you, but allows you to bring them on, test drive them as students and potential hires, and not have the liability of doing that before they're 18. Couple things to know. Schools who would give you co-op kids have to have a co-op coordinator. It's an education designation through Department of Ed. But if you're interested in a school and their program, my understanding is it's not hard to get that person. Okay. Like Octorora, for instance, has that. But I know certain schools around me didn't, and now they're finding that if they have a co-op coordinator, they can place so many more students. Make yourself available for co-op. Big kicker here is if you are somebody who does use registered apprenticeship, if you're co-oping a student and then you hire them, their co-op hours can count towards your registered apprenticeship and their mandatory requirement of hours. It's a very nice transitional piece because you guys recognize that in our industry, you very rarely can utilize students under 18. Child labor and OSHA are going to make that very difficult for you. Okay? And if you need help building a list of school co-op coordinators, I may have some of them. Eastern ABC might have them. A lot of that's just spelunking websites. There's no great magic to it. But I have found that I need to tell the schools what I'm available for, what my members are available for. They don't necessarily always have the resources to come ask you. So it is an effort, it is a commitment, but when you have a relationship, you can help build within that school the employee you need on the outside. Okay? So that's it. So, are there any? I was supposed to open for questions. Have I gone over time? Okay. Yes, sir.
I believe earlier you mentioned that in the summer program you have like 7 to 8 students.
Mm-hmm.
What is your, how many could you handle?
I can take up to 20 and still have that work very well, even with hands-on. Yeah. We also have a more in-depth program that's 84 hours that we do once a year, very math and safety-centric, where students come out with an OSHA 30. That I do at a much, like 13's my max on that, but 20 typically. Are there any other questions? Great. Well, I appreciate you having me. I hope that was helpful, and I'm happy to talk to you after.
Thank you, Stephanie. A lot of valuable information, and realizing I might have entered the wrong line of work. $50 an hour for, is that, how? Yeah. Okay, our final speaker, Jim Lauckner with the Manufacturing Alliance of Chester and Delaware Counties. Oh, yeah. Careful on those stairs, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. See a number of familiar faces. Thank you. But not everyone in the room. So I've been doing work for the Economic Development Council as a contractor for the last 10 years. And prior to that, I was actually a volunteer for the Economic Development Council in their IT partnership. And for those of you that are not familiar, the council is a 61-year-old organization, nonprofit, not-for-profit organization, primarily here to help businesses grow. For those of you that don't know me, you're probably thinking, okay, who is this guy and why should I listen to him? So let me give you a little bit about my background. I started out as a headhunter many, many years ago, placing IT people, and then worked in the IT consulting firm, excuse me, as the director of recruitment. And for the last 19 years, I've had my own business going into companies, helping them fix their hiring and recruiting and retention processes. And I can tell you it's probably never been more broken than it is today. Right now, I am working on 3 concurrent projects for the Economic Development Council. I help manage the Manufacturing Alliance of Chester and Delaware counties. I also help manage the Smart Energy Initiative, which is a industry partnership of energy and energy-related companies, geothermal, energy efficiency, microgrids and natural gas and pipelines, and solar. Those are primarily the groups there. And then the third group I'm working with is a task force that was created during the recession 10, 11 years ago called Hire One. And Hire One's mission is to come up with new and innovative ways of connecting employers and job seekers. So many of my comments will be coming from that type of background and framework, if I may. Let me ask a couple questions about the room, if I may. And if this was covered earlier, I apologize. First of all, how many have a 4-year college degree? Almost 100% of the room. How many of you are in education in one way or the other right now? Okay, about a third of the room. How many are actually working in the trades or manufacturing and need the skilled labor that we're talking about? Great, the majority of the room. Let me just give you a little bit more background of the Economic Development Council and what they do for those of you that are not familiar. In a nutshell, I first want to say that 52% of the companies the Chester County Economic Development Council touches in a year, and we touch about 700 companies a year, are outside of Chester County. The only one I've ever come in touch with that really care what the county lines are government or county folks, because that's where they distribute the monies. So the Economic Development Council doesn't really care where you're located. They're there to help you grow your business. And many times in trying to help you grow your business, it's a matter of workforce development. How many people here have school age or older children? How many will admit to the fact that when they were growing up, you were pretty much saying, yes, I realize there are other jobs out there in the trades and hands-on, but that's not for my child? Only 2. The rest of you would allow them to go to the trade school back then. Good for you. I actually worked in a warehouse at 15, 16 years old. There was no way I wasn't going to college. It was a sweat box, and real quick story, I worked with my dad. The only time we worked literally together was if there was an overtime opportunity. One night, we are literally unloading a rail boxcar full, every square inch full of Fisher-Price toys in August. About 100 degrees inside the boxcar. It's 6:30 at night, and my dad is running from boxcar to putting things out on pallets. I was like, Dad, you realize we get time and a half for this. Why are you running? He goes, I'm hungry. I want to get done. I want to get home. We did that in half the time of any other 2 people. Later that night, someone released the brakes of a rail boxcar 2.5 miles away up at Sears on the boulevard. That runaway boxcar landed through the building, pushed the boxcar that we were in through the cinder block wall, and it would have fallen out into the street except it caught on the roof. I learned my work ethic that night. So yes, my dad did teach me how to work hard. The Manufacturing Alliance is one of 5 industry partnerships. I mentioned smart energy. We also have agriculture, IT, and healthcare. But the Manufacturing Alliance has many companies, about 450, primarily in Chester and Delaware County, that come together, try to solve problems, and the number one problem today is workforce. And many of these companies need the same skills, trades that you need. Many of the apprenticeship jobs that you're talking there, JGM is certainly one of our active participating companies, are needed by these manufacturers. So it's very important to us to help try to solve the problem of today in terms of what is going on. And some of this data was mentioned earlier, but I'm going to give a little bit meat to it. The current economy, we have over 11 million open jobs across the United States. This screen will say there's about a half a person for each of those jobs available. The reality is there's really only about 3 million people looking for work that don't have a job. And while the great resignation is going on and people are saying 60% of those working are looking for the next job, so if you're not engaging your employees, you're in trouble also. So the question is, where are these other people going to come from? Certainly immigration is another problem that the United States has, that over the years we've often relied on a workforce to come from other countries. So if that's important to you, you might want to be talking to your politicians about trying to solve that problem. But when I go into companies, there's two things that I usually offer to them as a solution. One, we need to encourage the people that left the workforce, and I know someone said earlier, 70% of the women that left during the pandemic have not returned to work. Many of them, it's because of daycare or elder care, two more problems that we're trying to address. Many of them, not just the women, but the others that have not returned to the workforce, and I'll just say we, I won't get political about it, we have scared the living daylights out of people. And as of a year ago, there was a survey done in Chester County that 27% of the people that were out of work in Chester County by their own choice were afraid, literally afraid, to go back to work. So that's another issue that we can solve. And these are all solvable problems. So yes, we have less people willing to work. We physically have less people. When I grew up, the average household had 5 children. When my 40-year-old children were growing up, there were 2, and I have 2 of those. I have 2 more that are at home now. But the average household today, it's 0.83 children. So demographics are not in our favor in terms of solving this problem. The other issue is, it was also mentioned, people are retiring. They could afford to retire a year ago, maybe less so today. But if you are flexible enough, if you're the owner of your company, one of the things I will point out to you is go after the 55 and over, even if you have to retool them and retrain them. There are many, many, many people that I talk to through the Hire One Task Force that would love to get their hands on, literally their hands on, a job that were working a desk job or a professional level job before. Whether it's because they're a tinkerer, they would love to do your work. However, they're only willing to do it about 50% of the time. So if that's 6 months a year and they want to go be a snowbird the other 6 months of the year, hire them, because there is no one else. If it's a 20-hour a week, hire them. Many of them don't even need the benefits. They have their benefits from before, but they're willing to work. I also have data that if you're retiring, it's not healthy for you, but that's another presentation. Okay, you live longer if you're working at least half the time. Kevin's gonna work forever, don't worry about it. So, yes, we have some issues there, and there are many, many jobs available in the trades. I know we've talked about this earlier, but I am a huge Mike Rowe fan. I have been going into the high schools and the middle schools for the last 10 years. Delaware County Community College hosts a job fair each fall. I'll come back to that in a moment. But I've been sharing his data, his videos. They're out there. They're a great recruiting tool. And the problem today isn't trying to attract the children into the trades and into hands-on jobs. It's convincing their parents. And the economics today is helpful. And I have yet, in literally the thousands of employers that I've spoken to in the last 5 years about this shortage, I have yet to meet an employer that would encourage a child not to go to college. However, they will say to the individual, if you want to become a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, you're going to Drexel, great, best of luck to you. I hope you remember my little no-name company here in Chester County when you graduate and maybe come back. And most students, usually when they hit their 30s, do come back to Chester County. So don't burn those bridges with them. They'll come back to you. However, if you don't know what you want to do, you're a junior in high school and you don't know what you want to do, come work for me. I will teach you a trade. The monies are there, the apprenticeships are there. I'll come back to that in another couple slides. And I'll even help you get your college degree. I will help pay your college tuition. So yes, that is some of the carrots that you need to hold out there for them. So we've identified the problem time and time and time again. What can we do about it? Well, we're doing it right here and right now, but we need you to take the message out to the community. Whether it's the family picnic, your golf outing, wherever it is, please bring this topic up. Share the story. You need to become a storyteller. You've learned a lot of data of what's available to the students. Share the data, share the information, share it with your peers, share it with the other parents and say, are you aware of these opportunities do exist? And there are pathways, and there are ways there. Stephanie talked about average salary being $65,000. Yes, that is. That's the same data that I have. However, there are some people making six figures. I believe many of you are familiar with Penn Tech. I hear their welders come out of, and I realize it's a 4-year program, but it's also very hands-on and very specific. But I understand their welders are coming out with offers over $100,000 right out of school. So there are opportunities there. It just kind of depends on which trade that you go into. And we can make this presentation available. All the blue links actually take you out to the website. There's a couple I may link on to, but the data is right there and have that available at your fingertips. 21 skilled trade jobs are in demand according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. That's what BLS stands for. The information's there, and the other thing is, as is also mentioned, these careers, these opportunities, mostly because of, and I know the silver tsunami was mentioned, that's Dan Fogarty's favorite line. That's not going away. Last year, the US government expected 2 million people to retire. 3 million people retired. And again, that's why I'm saying that's part of the potential workforce to get you back. Again, two sites there, the links to different demands, different graphics. Again, in sharing the story, could you scroll down to that? This link I do want to go to, and I'm not sure I can do it from the pointer. So one of the things that the Chester County, Delaware County Manufacturing Alliance co-sponsors, and we had our 7th year this year, is what's so cool about manufacturing. How many people have heard about that video contest? Oh, the entire room, you can forget about it. What I will tell you is that link has the last, I forget how old this contest is, 8 years? Has all the videos of all the counties that participated. There are literally hundreds of videos, 2 minutes in length on average, of different manufacturers, some have year after year, of what 8th grade students have created. I can't tell you how many manufacturers have said, oh yeah, I'm creating a little video about my industry, this, that, and the other thing. Some are spending thousands of dollars on it. If you don't have the thousands of dollars to have your own promotional video, there's a site there, and I'm sure there's an industry or a business similar to yours, but maybe you want to advertise because they're in the western part of the state, not here, your direct competitor. But you can share this with your potential employees. As I mentioned, 873 videos there so far. We talked about apprenticeships. A couple additional data points here. 16,927 registered apprenticeships as of the website 2 days ago. Stephanie pointed out that many of the apprenticeships are 2-4 years long. We had a couple of employers in the Manufacturing Alliance sign up 3 years ago with Delaware County Community College. We put this whole thing together. It was a 2-year program. We could not find an employee, any employee, that was willing to commit to 2 years. One of the things the apprenticeship office in Harrisburg will do is they'll help tailor the apprenticeship. If you can come up with a 1-year program just to get them in, they're willing to do that. I went to an apprenticeship seminar a little over a year ago. One of the success stories there was they were taking their existing employees. So you hired someone as a laborer, they proved themselves to be someone who's going to show up for work every day, be there every day, had the right work ethic, et cetera. And then they put them into their apprenticeship program. That's more than allowable as well. The other thing I will mention about working with children, and hopefully I'll get a few nods from the schools in the room. When I've gone down to the Delaware County Community College Career Day, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, I would have how many students, and these were mostly sophomores and juniors, a couple seniors, but mostly sophomores and juniors, how many were working? And it'd be one or two. Mostly Delaware County students because of the high schools that were participating. I didn't do it this year, the year before when I did it, 80% of the room of high school students were working. And in talking to their teachers, they were working real jobs, some retail, but some hands-on jobs, and they were hardworking children. And I was very encouraged by that. And I was trying to figure out, why is the work ethic of the 16, 17, 18-year-old better now than it was 5 or 6 years ago? And it dawned on me, and I don't have any data to back this up, but it dawned on me that when the last recession hit, and probably one or more of their parents were out of work, they didn't get everything handed to them like their older siblings did when the economy was better. And they realized that you had to have money, you needed the buck to hit the fast food or get the extra toy or the extra game. And they learned the value of a dollar. So I can also tell you from a hands-on experience that today's youth is ready to work. Mark Perner, who spoke at a couple different things, put out a book. And in the book, he said, when they figure out what they want to do, the children of the day, the teens of the day, the 20-year-olds of the day, Gen Z, all they need to do is figure out what they want to do. They'll figure out how to do it. What I'm encouraging you to do is to let your job and your answer and your opportunity be what they want to do. So that's it. If you have any questions, I'm ready to take them. A few more resources there. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. So after we're basically about ready to conclude here in a few minutes, but definitely encourage you to take the time to connect with our career and technical workforce organizations that are in the room that had tables set up outside. They include Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology, the CCIU, of course, Jill Stolfus, the Occupational Area School District, back in the back there, and the PA Career Link. They were all here, so make sure if you haven't chatted with them to do that already. It's only fitting that we're here at the point for today's event, an organization that supports youth in the Parksburg area, and they actually offer some degree of vocational education for them. I'm going to invite Debbie Shoup up to talk a little bit about the point, and they're going to offer tours. Anybody, show of hands, anybody that hasn't been here before? A couple folks. So definitely encourage you to take a tour of their facility afterwards, Debbie. Well, tell us a little bit more about it.
Dwayne Walton, our director, was supposed to be here today, and he had another engagement that came up at the last minute. So I am neither Dwayne Walton nor am I a black preacher, so I won't keep you as long as Dwayne would. So welcome to the point. Bud Herman, who is our director of operations, who is in the back, and he's also our hands-on training coordinator, would like to give you a tour of the facility. The hands-on training center that we've had up and running for a few years is exposing young kids to the trades. And one of the things that we're proud of is this podium right here was made by these kids in the hands-on training center woodworking department. And there's just something about seeing a child who has completed something and their accomplishments that just makes it all worthwhile. So thank you for coming. Bud's in the back. If you have any questions, I'm the development director here about how we get money for the point. I'd be happy to talk to you. So thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. So that's basically concluding our program today. We just wanted to mention our next big signature event, which is our Future Focus event. It's going to be on May 25th. This is an event that highlights economic growth in Western Chester County. We're going to have some great speakers out for you for that. That is going to be at Victory Brewing in Parksburg, so right down the road from where we are here, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the 25th, so register for that. And thanks again for coming today. Take advantage of some tours of the facility, some more breakfast outside, and network with the other professionals that are here. Thanks. Have a good rest of the day.